the most terrible things about Sonny, his teeth gleaming like a lighthouse and his laugh coming up from him like the beginning of an earthquake. And it turned out that everyone at the bar knew Sonny, or almost everyone. Some were musicians, working there or nearby, or not working. Some were simply hangers-on, and some were there to hear Sonny play. I was introduced to all of them, and they were very polite to me, yet it was clear that, for them, I was only Sonny's brother. Here I was in Sonny's world, or rather, his kingdom. Here it was not even a question that his veins bore royal blood. A new kind of royalty. They were going to play soon, and Creole installed me by myself at a table in a dark corner. And then I watched them, Creole and the little black man and Sonny and the others, while they horsed around, standing just below the bandstand. The light from the bandstand spilled just a little short of them, and watching them laughing and gesturing and moving about, I had the feeling that they, nevertheless, were being most careful not to step into that circle of light too suddenly. That if they moved into that light too suddenly, without thinking, they would perish in flame. Then I watched. One of them, the small black man, moved into the light and crossed the bandstand and started fooling around with his drums. And then, being funny, and being also extremely ceremonious, Creole took Sonny by the arm and led him to the piano. A woman's voice called Sonny's name, and a few hands started clapping. And Sonny, also being funny and being ceremonious, and also so touched, I think, that he could have cried, but neither hiding it nor showing it, riding it like a man, grinned and put both hands to his heart and bowed from the waist. Creole then went to the bass fiddle, and a lean, very bright-skinned brown man jumped up on the bandstand and picked up his horn. So there they were, and the atmosphere on the bandstand and in the room began to change and tighten. Someone stepped up to the microphone and announced them. Then there were all kinds of murmurs. Some people at the bar shushed others. The waitress ran around, frantically getting in the last orders. Guys and chicks got closer to each other, and the lights on the bandstand, on the quartet, turned to a kind of indigo. Then they all looked different there. Creole looked about him for the last time, as though he were making certain that all his chickens were in the coop. And then he jumped and struck the fiddle. And there they were. Now, all I know about music is that not many people ever really hear it. And even then, on the rare occasions, when something opens within and the music enters, what we mainly hear, or hear corroborated, are personal, private, vanishing evocations. But the man who creates the music is hearing something else, is dealing with the roar rising from the void and imposing order on it as it hits the air. What is evoked in him then is of another order, more terrible because it has no words, and triumphant too for that same reason. And his triumph, when he triumphs, is ours. I watched Sonny's face. His face was troubled. He was working hard, but he wasn't with it. And I had the feeling that, in a way, everyone on the bandstand was waiting for him, both waiting for him and pushing him along. But as I began to watch Creole, I realized that it was Creole who held them back. He had them on a short rein, up there, keeping the heat with his whole body, wailing on the fiddle with his eyes half closed. He was listening to everything, but he was listening to Sonny. He was having a dialogue with Sonny. He wanted Sonny to leave the shoreline and strike out for the deep water. He was witness, Sonny's witness, that the deep water and drowning were not the same thing. He had been there, and he knew. And he wanted Sonny to know. He was waiting for Sonny to do the things on the keys which would let Creole know that Sonny was in the water. And while Creole listened, Sonny moved, deep within, exactly like someone in torment. I had never before thought of how awful the relationship must be between a musician and his instrument. He has to fill it, this instrument, with a breath of life, his own. He has to make it do what he wants it to do. And a piano is just a piano. It's made out of so much wood and wires and little hammers and big ones and ivory. Well, there's only so much you can do with it. The only way to find out is to try and make it do everything. And Sonny hadn't been near a piano for over a year. And he wasn't on much better terms with his life, not the life that stretched out before him now. He and the piano stammered. Started one way, got scared, stopped, started another way, panicked, marked time, started again, then seemed to have found the direction, panicked again, got stuck. And the face I saw on Sonny, I had never seen before. Everything had been burned out of it, and at the same time, things usually hidden were being burned in by the fire and the fury of the battle which was occurring in him up there. Yet watching Creole's face as they neared the end of the first set, I had a feeling that something had happened, something I hadn't heard. And then they finished. There was scattered applause. And then, without an instant warning, Creole started into something else. It was almost sardonic. It was, "Am I blue?" And as though he commanded, Sonny began to play. Something began to happen, and Creole let out the reins. The dry, low black man said something awful on the drums. Creole answered and the drums talked back. And then the horn insisted, sweet and high, slightly detached perhaps, and Creole listened, commenting now and then, dry and driving, beautiful and calm and old. Then they all came together again, and Sonny was part of the family again. I could tell this from his face. He seemed to have found, right there, beneath his fingers, a damn brand new piano. It seemed he couldn't get over it. And then for a while, just being happy with Sonny, they seemed to be agreeing with him that brand new pianos certainly were a gas. And then Creole stepped forward to remind them that they were playing the blues. He hit something in them all. He hit something in me, myself, and the music tightened and deepened. Apprehension began to beat the air. Creole began to tell us what the blues were all about. They were not about anything very new. He and his boys were up there keeping it new, at the risk of ruin, destruction, madness, and death, in order to find new ways to make us listen. For while the tale of how we suffer and how we are delighted and how we may triumph is never new, it must always be heard. There isn't any other tale to tell. It's the only light we've got in the darkness. And this tale, according to that face, that body, those strong hands on those strings, has another aspect in every country and a new depth in every generation. Listen, Creole seemed to be saying, listen. Now these are Sonny's blues. He made the little black man on the drums know it, and the bright brown man on the horn. Creole wasn't trying any longer to get Sonny into the water. He was wishing him Godspeed. And then he stepped back, very slowly filling the air with the immense suggestion that Sonny speak for himself. And then they all gathered around. They gathered around Sonny, and Sonny played. Every now and again, one of them seemed to say, Amen. Sonny's fingers filled the air with life, his life. But that life contained so many others. And Sonny went all the way back. He really began with the spare, flat statement of the opening phrase of the song, and then he began to make it his. It was beautiful because it wasn't hurried, and it was no longer a lament. I seemed to hear with what burning he had made it his, and with what burning we had yet to make it ours, how we could cease lamenting. Freedom lurked around us, and I understood at last that he could help us to be free if we